I was looking at some interesting words from the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 12 the other day. It says, I know a man in Christ more than 14 years ago, whether in the body I don't know or out of the body I don't know, God knows. Such a one was caught up unto the third heaven. And I know such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I don't know, God knows, that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words which it is not lawful for a man to speak. I found it interesting that as Paul is caught up into the third heaven or into paradise, as he says, he saw and heard things, and the things he heard were impossible for man to speak, but twice he talks about whether in the body or out of the body, I don't know, God knows. And to me, it really spoke about the reality of the soul, something that we are not always really conscious of, sometimes not even confident of, because we are so connected with our body's physical existence in this life. And as we see, when physical existence ends, it just seems like it's the end of everything. And yet when we look here, we have a situation where Paul is saying, you know what? The situation of my physical body was irrelevant to what my soul was experiencing. And whether I was in the body or out of the body, there were things that I saw and heard. And the things he heard were not even expressible in human languages or human speech. Obviously, there is a world of the soul that goes beyond our physical abilities. And when Paul was out of his body, he could still see and hear things. He could still remember. He knew who he was. He knew where he was. But whether he was in the body or out of the body didn't matter. It speaks to me that the soul is very much part of our existence, and perhaps more important in some ways than the body, because whether in the body or out of the body, we are experiencing things. Also reminds me of Luke chapter 16 in the story of the rich man and Lazarus, where Jesus tells his story, and when the rich man finds himself in hell, he kind of a little bit pleads with Father Abraham to send the beggar Lazarus over to help him out. And Abraham says to him, son, remember. Now, it says very clearly, as Jesus tells the story, the rich man died and was buried. So we don't have any physical body going on here. Yet the man could see, he could hear, he could know who he was, he knew where he was. Sadly, he knew where he was, and perhaps more significantly, he could remember his life. I read recently where some scientists were researching, and they said before death in their research, they found an extremely active part of the brain that was connected with memory. Some people say that when they have near-death experiences, they see their whole life flash before their eyes. Or were you perhaps experiencing something where what is ever being stored in the human brain is sure to be transferred to the soul prior to departure from the body? I'm not real sure. It makes for a little interesting thought exactly how it works. But one thing we find out very clearly as we look through the pages of the Bible, that when we are out of the body, there's an existence of soul and spirit that goes on, can see, can hear, can remember, know who they are, know where they are, remember what their life was. Perhaps that's one reason why in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8, Paul so confidently said, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Now we do know that there's a resurrection to come. We do know, as in Philippians chapter 3, verse 21, that Jesus will transform the bodies of our humility to a body of his glory. And so, yeah, there's a future for the body. But Paul had already experienced, whether in the body or out of the body, he knew that he could be out of the body, know who he was, where he was, and remember things. And so I think his confidence in facing death and being absent from the body, present with the Lord probably helped because he'd already experienced once. Now, we have not yet experienced that type of thing. And Jesus did tell Thomas, Thomas, you've seen and believed. But blessed are those who haven't seen and yet have believed. We don't have the, at least I haven't, had the out-of-the-body experience that the Apostle Paul experienced. But I do have his account telling me, doesn't matter if you're out of the body, you're there. You know who you are, you know where you are, and you can remember your life. And while we're out of the body, waiting to be resurrected in a body of glory, in an eternal existence that we can't even fathom right now in this body, we don't have to worry. When the time comes, absent from the body is present with the Lord, we will know him, we will see him, we will hear him, we'll know who we are, we'll know who he is, we'll remember our life, and I hope we can all follow Apostle Paul in being in heaven, the third heaven in paradise, rather than the rich man who ended up in torment, still knowing who he was, where he was, and remembering his life, and yet no possibility to escape the situation that he brought upon himself in his misspent, unbelieving life. My thoughts for today. Thanks for listening.